Welcome back, Warner fam. Today, I'll be recapping the 2024 horror psychological thriller film, Apartment 7A, so keep your eyes wide open and stay safe. The movie kicks off in 1965 New York City. Lena, a young dancer, is struggling. She used to be amazing, but everything changed after a bad jump during a show. She hurt her ankle so badly that she couldn't remember much after, except waking up in a hospital bed. She was never the same. Once she was sent home, walking was a challenge. She now had a limp, and the pain was constant. Every day, Lena shared a cramped apartment with her friend Mia and roommate Ava, but lately, Ava wasn't happy. Lena couldn't pay her part of the rent on time, and that only made things worse. Lena's life was falling apart. She wasn't getting paid regularly, and her leg injury made it hard to find work. She tried auditioning again, but she wasn't the dancer she once was. Rejection after rejection piled up. People began to see her as unreliable, someone who couldn't make it anymore. Lena refused to give up. She had worked so hard for 6 years at a dance school, and she wasn't ready to let her dreams slip away. Her family, who ran a slaughterhouse back in her hometown, always supported her, but Lena didn't want to go back feeling like a failure. She knew she just needed one chance to prove herself. At one audition, they asked her to do the jump that had hurt her before. Even though she was scared, she pushed herself to try again. But the producers weren't impressed. They made her repeat the jump over and over. She almost injured her ankle again, but they didn't care. They just told her they would call her later and sent her away. The worst part came when the director, Paul, made fun of her family's work. He asked her to act like an animal from the slaughterhouse, laughing at her the whole time. Lena felt humiliated. Mia, her friend, was getting really worried about Lena's increasing use of pain medicine. Mia was still getting calls to perform and suggested that Lena go back home to rest and heal. But Lena wasn't having it. She came to New York to make it, and she wasn't leaving until she did. One evening, after watching Paul leave, Lena made a decision. She was determined to talk to him, so she followed him through the busy streets of New York. Her heart raced as she ended up in front of a tall, fancy building. Lena walked up to the front desk and told the person there that Paul was expecting her, though it wasn't true. But before she could get inside, she started to feel dizzy. She quickly turned around and left. Outside, an older couple, Martha and Victor, noticed that Lena didn't look well. They kindly offered to help her. They took her to their apartment and gave her a warm, cozy guest room to rest. But when Lena fell asleep, her dreams turned dark and unsettling, making her feel anxious. When she woke up, Lena couldn't remember how she had gotten there. Martha and Victor greeted her with breakfast, but when they offered her meat, Lena refused. The smell reminded her of how the animals were treated back on her family's farm. Martha and Victor reminded Lena that they had found her when she was sick and that she had mentioned Paul's name while still half asleep. Trying to make sense of everything, Lena explained that she had been chasing after Paul because she wanted to be in his show. She thanked Martha and Victor, grateful for their kindness in helping a stranger. Martha, always the warm and welcoming host, was thrilled to have Lena stay with them. While helping Martha clean up, Lena shared how she had hurt her leg 4 months ago, which made dancing so hard now. Martha reassured her, saying that a fall doesn't define who a person is. In a surprising twist, the couple invited Lena to stay with them for free, explaining that they had no children and would love the company. Victor added that they had once helped a girl who was running from a bad relationship. Lena thought it was a little odd, but decided to accept their offer anyway. When Lena went back to her old apartment to pack, her friend Mia grew worried. Mia didn't think Lena knew Martha and Victor well enough, but Lena stayed hopeful, believing the couple was just lonely and kind. After moving into Martha and Victor's large apartment, Lena found a shoe with the name Joan Chabowski on it. When she showed it to Martha, she quickly dismissed it, saying Joan had left in a rush. Later, to welcome Lena, Martha handed her a small plant as a gift. That night, Martha and Victor invited Lena to dinner, but said they wouldn't be eating at home. Lena saw this as the perfect chance to get closer to Paul and eagerly agreed. She dressed up and took some painkillers to help with her aching leg. When she arrived at Paul's apartment, she was surprised to learn that Martha and Victor wouldn't be joining them after all. Feeling a little awkward but still determined, Lena stayed. During their conversation, Lena discovered that Victor had been helping Paul with his projects, but Paul quickly told her that wasn't the reason he invited her. He was impressed by her determination and wanted to know more about her. As they talked about Paul's upcoming musical, Lena opened up about how much dancing meant to her. She shared the heartbreaking story of her mother's death and how her father fell into a deep depression, leaving dancing as her only escape. Paul seemed moved by her story but didn't promise her anything. Instead, he raised a glass for a toast. After taking a few sips, Lena started feeling sick. She couldn't tell if it was the alcohol or the painkillers mixing together. She tried to act normal, but soon her walk walk became unsteady. Paul played some music, and Lena began to drift into a daydream. She imagined herself as the star of a grand dance show, but the dream quickly twisted into a nightmare as she saw a terrifying creature closing in on her. The next morning, Lena woke up in Paul's bed. She could barely remember the night before, but Paul casually mentioned that they had a good time. Lena was confused and unsure of what had really happened. Despite the confusion, Paul shocked her by saying she had landed a role in his musical. Rehearsals for the show started, and Lena quickly felt the weight of the pressure. During a break, she noticed a bruise on her wrist but couldn't remember how it got there. The lead dancer, Lara, mocked her, calling her the girl who fell, a cruel reminder of her past. Feeling upset, Lena went to the restroom to collect her thoughts. She was still haunted by the uncertainty of what had truly occurred at Paul's apartment. Later, Martha introduced Lena to their neighbor, Mrs. Richard, a kind, elderly woman who had been New York's first female judge. Mrs. Richard offered Lena a special ointment to help with her leg injury. However, Lena's nightmares didn't go away. She started feeling like something dark and dangerous was stirring inside her. One night, after another bad dream, Lena found herself dancing in her room without needing any painkillers. To her surprise, she felt no pain. At the next rehearsal, Lena performed much better. The hard work continued, but she finally felt like she was improving. She even received her first paycheck, marking a big moment in her comeback as a dancer. Martha and Victor then hosted a grand Christmas costume party, inviting their high society friends. Lena, now known in these circles, was invited along with her best friend Mia. At the party, Lena met Dr. T, a famous doctor who handed her his card. Politely, Lena said she didn't think she would need it anytime soon. The night was filled with fun as Lena and Mia sang, danced, and celebrated. Martha and Victor even gave Lena an extravagant Christmas gift, a fur coat and an ancient medallion that was said to bring good luck. Lena, not used to receiving such fancy gifts, felt overwhelmed, but the mood shifted when Lena saw what looked like black hands grabbing at her reflection in the mirror. Scared, she screamed, but quickly brushed it off, telling herself it was just her imagination. The next day, Lena's world changed. She noticed her belly had grown and she felt sick. She went to Dr. T, who confirmed she was pregnant. Shocked, Lena told Mia, revealing that Paul was the father, but she didn't want him to know. She feared the news would ruin her dance career. Things got worse when Lara overheard and made a mean joke about it. Lena, in a rare moment of anger, pushed Lara. She wasn't sure she wanted to keep the baby and struggled to figure out what to do. Each time she thought about her options, sharp pain shot through her abdomen, almost as if something was stopping her. Strange things started happening. Objects moved on their own, and she began seeing and hearing things that weren't there. Despite the tension, Paul supported Lena when others teased her. What surprised her most was Paul's calm reaction to the pregnancy. He seemed pleased and even encouraged her to stay focused on the show. Later, Lena learned that Martha and Victor already knew about the pregnancy. They were the ones who told Paul. The couple was excited and even offered to take her to Dr. T's office for the next appointment. Lena was overwhelmed and told them she wasn't ready to raise a child, but Martha and Victor didn't listen. Instead, they showed Lena a nursery they had set up, hinting that they wanted to adopt her baby. The couple, who had never been able to have children, saw this as their chance. Lena found herself trapped in a tough situation, unsure of what to do. Sensing her hesitation, Martha and Victor promised that in exchange for the baby, they would give her anything she wanted. All Lena truly wanted was to dance on stage. Her silence was seen as agreement, and the decision seemed made. That night, Lena had another terrible dream. She woke up to the sound of creaking floorboards. Turning on the light, she was shocked to see Mrs. Richard standing at the end of her bed, warning her to stop what was happening. Before Lena could react, Mrs. Richard attacked her. Lena quickly locked herself in her room, heart racing. Moments later, she heard heavy breathing outside her door. When she opened it, Mrs. Richard was struggling to breathe. An ambulance was called, and she was rushed to the hospital. The next morning, Martha and Victor told Lena that Mrs. Richard had fallen into a coma. They didn't seem too worried, but Lena felt something was wrong. She couldn't shake the feeling that Mrs. Richard had entered through a locked door. Martha and Victor brushed off her concerns, explaining that Mrs. Richard had dementia, but Lena's suspicions grew stronger. As she explored the house, she found a strange book about rituals. However, she was interrupted by footsteps and quickly had to leave. Back at rehearsal, tensions were high. Suddenly, Laura collapsed, clutching her leg in pain. Her body began to change in strange and terrifying ways. She was rushed to the hospital. With Laura unable to perform, Paul gave Lena the lead role. Despite everything that was happening, Lena accepted the role. Martha even cut Lena's hair to make her look like her mother's, which made Lena feel conflicted. She couldn't shake the thought that Laura might never recover. It was a lot for Lena to process, especially after hearing Martha's unsettling comment. Not everyone gets this kind of luck. As Lena stood outside, staring at her name in the big lights on the theater marquee, she realized just how true that was. It was a proud moment, something she had worked for her whole life. Her dress rehearsal went almost perfectly. It was a moment she had been dreaming of, and for the first time, she felt like everything was finally falling into place. But later, as she was removing her makeup in the dressing room, Lena heard strange voices outside. She quickly shut the door, but before she could relax, sharp pains shot through her stomach. It felt worse than before. For a moment, it seemed like her stomach was growing rapidly, but then it stopped, leaving her terrified and unsure of what was happening. At home, Lena called Dr. T to tell him about the strange things happening to her. He assured her that it was normal during early pregnancy, but Lena wasn't convinced. She felt that something was terribly wrong with her, and possibly with the baby. When she asked more questions, Dr. T suggested she see a psychiatrist, which upset Lena. She ended the call, still shaken by everything. Trying to calm herself, Lena picked up the strange ritual book she had found at Martha's house. As she flipped through the pages, her heart skipped a beat when she saw a picture of a medallion, exactly like the one Martha and Victor had given her. Before she could make sense of it, there was a knock at the door. It was Martha, inviting her to dinner. Nervously, Lena declined, telling Martha she wasn't hungry. Looking through the peephole, Lena saw Martha's creepy smile before she left. Lena's mind raced. She decided she had to find out what happened to Joan Chabowski, the girl who had stayed with Martha and Victor before her. Lena packed her things, took off the medallion, and quietly left the house. She tracked Joan's name in a directory and went to the building's concierge for information. The concierge told her Joan had left 6 months ago, leaving all her things behind. When Lena looked through Joan's belongings, she found a cross that strangely burned her palm. Shaken, Lena went to a church for help. As soon as she stepped inside, she felt sick, but she forced herself to pray. A nun came up to her, and Lena showed her the ritual book. The nun's face turned pale, and she warned Lena to stay away from Bramford House. The nun explained that the house had been home to a strange cult for years. She revealed that Joan had confessed her sins to the church, but Joan wasn't the one who had done something wrong. Joan had tried to leave the house, but tragically, she was hit by a bus. The nun then dropped to her knees and prayed for Lena when she realized that Lena was pregnant. The nun explained that the people at Bramford House were trying to bring the Antichrist into the world. Terrified, Lena and Mia went to a secret clinic to end the pregnancy. But when the doctor started the procedure, Lena panicked. She screamed and pushed the doctor away. Then, the doctor suddenly had a horrible seizure. Scared, Lena ran out of the clinic with Mia following behind. Lena confessed to Mia that something evil was inside her. Mia promised they'd figure it out together. But deep down, Lena knew she had to face it on her own. After a sad goodbye, Lena left. Back at Bramford House, Lena followed Martha into the basement, where she discovered a strange room that looked like an auditorium, filled with ritual objects. Paul appeared, surprised to see Lena there. It hit her then. She had been part of a ritual all along. Paul explained that they had tried this many times before, but Lena was the only one who had worked. He called it a miracle and told her she was meant to be in the darkness. Angrily, Lena hurt Paul, making him fall in the middle of the ritual circle. Suddenly, she saw a demon, and in fear, she tried to escape through the front door, but it was locked. With no other choice, Lena went back inside, where Martha and Victor were waiting for her, as if they knew she would return. Lena, now fully understanding the truth, confronted them. She told them she knew who they really were, but Martha calmly reminded Lena of their deal. Lena would get everything she wanted in exchange for the baby. Lena refused and tried to harm herself, but an unseen force stopped her. In pain, she fell to the ground, screaming. Victor tried to calm her, saying they weren't evil, just followers of another god. He told Lena that the baby wasn't Paul's. It was the child of the fallen angel. Martha and Victor then told her that they were her new family now. With no other choice, Lena took Victor's hand and gave in. They led her into their special room, where cult members had already gathered. The group clapped as Martha placed the medallion back around Lena's neck. They praised her, and Lena, caught up in the moment, accepted a drink, agreeing to join them. In a strange twist, Lena danced for the guests, fully becoming the center of attention. But in a final act of rebellion, Lena whispered to Martha that this was the role of a lifetime. She walked over to the window, and before anyone could stop her, she threw herself out. The fall killed her instantly. When the police arrived, a crowd gathered, but Martha and Victor stayed calm. They knew their plan wasn't finished. They would continue. What do you think Lena's final act really meant? Was it freedom or something else? Let me know in the comments. So if you liked this, hit subscribe and turn on notifications for more recaps. Thanks for watching. See you next time on Warner Movie Recaps.